Namaste. We are going to explore the depth and the journey of Kundalini Shakti. Most often, Kundalini has been treated with a lot of fear because it is considered an activity which is not ordinary. So obviously there is a lot of misgivings about this awareness. Kundalini in its original state is called the Kandarpa Vayu. Very few beings are aware that it is called Kandarpa Vayu. This is our ancient Vedic seers who had seen this beautiful prana that emerged from the source and where it was fiercely attracted into the fire of the Kundalini. There is various levels of Kundalini. The Kundalini that we are interested to discuss today is the human level, the human Kundalini. What it means is there is a powerful Shakti, the force, which is primordial in its original source, and it is flowing through us in a very powerful and spectacular way. And this will help us to realize the extent of the atomic structure and its connectedness to the source and its availability in our beautiful instrument in multiple dimensions. First, in the physical level, it is operating as pure energy. In the subtle, it is going into deeper aspects of the way the prana is being directed. So what is important here is we're going to discuss this depth with practical implications of it. There's a lot of philosophy that has been discussed in various texts, and the way Vijnana Bhairav Tantra has given the various ways of accessing these meditations and how we can extrapolate the depth of this Kundalini through a clear knowing. So first let us begin to understand what it means to us. The very Shakti which is available in its purest dimensional flow is a vibration itself. The very vibration. So if an atom is vibrating at a certain frequency, and is there a kinetic motion to it? That means it has to gather this energy from the source into a kinetic motion, and that motion itself, the very movement itself, is Kundalini. So in the human system, we are moving from a static state into a dynamic state. What happens to an energy which can be directed and forms a bridge, a gateway, a pillar of light that connects us back to the source? So Kundalini is one of the most fastest or easiest ways to access the highest knowing. And how does it happen? First and important aspect of this understanding is, can we actually feel it? Because it's already there. It is not something which you have to reinvent or find out how it functions, because it's already operating in its powerful ecstatic way, which is the very focus of this Kundalini Shakti. Number one is the prana is directly being attracted to us. We did not try to breathe, breathing is happening to us. If breathing is happening to us, since when did we try to make it happen? So that means we have not even extrapolated the power of the breath, which is capable of accessing its purest elemental state. So we have to now find out what can happen to a normal, existential, ordinary human to a powerful, aware, awakened being. So if you can understand the journey of these two, then you can bridge the gap of understanding of Kundalini. So powerful that it is in its purest elemental force, that first and foremost we begin with an atom within, so small, so insignificant to the naked eye that it does not even exist. So it is, let us assume that this is called the Planck length, the time taken for a proton to transit through a nucleus. So the length of that is 1.616 into 10 to the power of minus 33. You can imagine that is 0.33 zeros, 1.616 centimeter. That's the size of that minuscule atom, and that we can refer it as Anu. Now this Anu has got the universal awareness, universal description of its potential force, And now in that condensed state, it has the power to project even a human body. A human body is a fantastic projection, and in that projection it has to experience the divinity. How does it experience the divinity? The Kundalini gives the wings. Kundalini gives it that sense of direction, sense of power to move from a dormant state to a ecstatic, active, aware, awakened state. So how can that happen? Either, let us look at it like just visualize this as a one cylinder. In that cylinder, just a round cylinder here, in that cylinder you have a magnet on the top, and there is a current that is passing through. Very weak current, not able to rise enough to the magnetic head because the current is weak. So we have two choices. One, increase the power of this electric current or increase the magnetism. So the Kundalini follows two ways of approach. It's called bottoms up or top down. So in the bottoms up approach, it's called sadhana. In sadhana, what we do is we allow this instrument to calibrate to a higher state by intensive breath work. It's called a fire breath or Kundalini breath. You can use the power of Kundalini Nada, which is a very, very intensely deep science. It is not available to common people who are not even able to access that level of awareness. And then there is mantra sadhana, using the power of japa. Raising from japa, you increase the tapa, the fire, and reach japam tapam yogam. So that means it is possible to reach a balanced state here where the magnetism is so strong because you are in the center. The Kundalini Shakti, which is already there in every atom of you, now becomes refocused, redirected into the spine. So the pranavayu which is coming to us, naturally inclined, magnetically drawn into this heart, and then there is a diversion of this energy across the body. One vayu goes downward, which is called the apana. One vayu goes upward till here, it's called the prana. One vayu which is spinning in the center, which is samana. One vayu which is circulating across the body is called dhyana. One vayu which rises up from here is called the udana. So the panchavayus are there as a governance of this instrument. Now, but there is something which has to magically happen. One, the most important thing is the combustion of prana and apana. This causes the heat and the fire to rise. So this journey is called the path of fire and light. The light has to emerge and extract that awareness from the center of the nucleus of the brain. That means there has to be a very, very significant milestone. The first milestone is how can we get the energy to come into the mouth of the Sushumna Dwara. If it comes into the mouth of the Sushumna Dwara, does it have enough firepower to rise and emerge out of these locks which is there inside us? 3 locks, which is the first lock itself is called the Rudra, the Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, Rudra Granthi, 3 knots. Most people come pre-fitted with these knots. These are called karmic knots. They will not let this Kundalini to rise on its own inadvertently. That means it has to rise beyond the ordinary. The 3 lingas, which is the locks which are kept in this system. So how can these locks rise? One, the lock is the base is called the Swayambhulinga. At the heart it's called the Banalinga. Here in the center of this is called the Itaralinga. Now the 3 locks, Banalinga, Itaralinga and the Swayambhulinga, all 3 have to open. All these 3 knots have to open. That's when the Kundalini is preparing the pathway. But now most importantly, what are the chances that this Kundalini can come alive? One, something which I have really emphasized on it, which is love. If the Kundalini experiences purest love within, the magnetism is so strong that it will come back into the zero in you, and then the rising becomes easier. Because we have always been objective, our focus is directed outward, diverted outward, the focus is not inward and upward. So the pratyahara is a withdrawal of all the energies which are flowing downward and outward into inward and upward. So this process of bringing inward and upward is pratyahara. For that, what would you do? First, being aware subjectively, absorb and observe, both has to happen. Observation, very strong observation as a witness as whatever is happening to you. We come to the point where you realize that you are it. How can that become so intense? We know that we are so powerful because we are operating at the conscious level in a supreme aware state only when we are consumed, absorbed in that single point of converged awareness. And that converged awareness is Bindu. And this Sahasrara Bindu has so much power that it can magnetically extract the power through the spine and merge it into the cosmic consciousness. But for that to happen, most people think it's a long drawn process, so they have to go on a very long drawn process of cleansing. Yes, I do agree, but there are so many pathways to it. Some people take the simple path of Hatha Yoga, Hakaram, Takaram, balancing the sun and moon. Yes, it's important to balance these two, because when these two are equalized, Ida and Pingala are equalized, this flow can come into the center. The first sign of knowingness comes from the tip of the nose, and this is a Sushumna Dwara. People often wonder what the tip of the nose can mean. The Sushumna Dwara, when it's awakened, it opens the gateways at the mouth of this Sushumna, and the Dhara flows through the Dwara. Remember this, the Dhara is the flow and Dwara is the opening, and the flow is so ecstatic that it has no room for falling down back again. Why? Because it has now penetrated through all the channels. The 4 gateways which can normally the Kundalini can take in. One is the Sushumna Nadi, which is the outermost part of the flow, and then there is inner core, which is the Chitrini Nadi, Vajrani Nadi, and then the Brahmani Nadi. These 4 are like concentric Nadi pipelines which are holding the Kundalini force and rising it upward. So only thing that can come in the way of this rising, which is actually at the speed of 90 feet per second. Imagine something is coming so fast that you can, before a blink of an eye, the Kundalini has risen. But what can stop this is the resistance coming from the unawakened state of the chakra itself. That means there are several, the Shat chakras, these 6 chakras, which is Agya, Vishuddhi, Anahata, Manipuraka, Swadhisthana, and the Mula Adhara. So the first and important aspect of this understanding is Mula Adhara, which is basic foundation, usually is bypassed because people think it is not so important. It's just trivial. Let us straight away pull the magnetism up and raise the frequency of this instrument by calibration faster. So just by chanting, just by intense energy processing at the top, they feel a sense of Kundalini Shakti. But it's not really Kundalini Shakti, it is just prana flowing upward. People get excited when they have pranodhana, just the prana rising, but that's not Kundalini. Kundalini is a process which will open all the petals of the lotus of each and every chakra. You can hear like a click. Some people feel it like a click. Some people can hear Shankanada, the nada of the conch blowing. Sometimes it's a damaru playing. Sometimes it is temple bells ringing in your head. Sometimes it's just Omkara. But something divine which takes over beyond the ordinary, what we all understand in the physical norms.